The G-Wade Podcast with Deacon Dirty.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy G-Wade holding down G-Wade Podcast, kicking it alongside with my man Deacon.
Dirty.
And we got a special guest in the building. I'm talking legendary.
Legend.
Living legend in the house. Well, on Zoom. You know what I'm saying? Uncle Ralph McDaniels. What's up, bro?
What's up, man? Good to be here, man. Thank you for having me, bro. Appreciate that.
Absolutely, man. When I got word, I was like, yo, please make it happen. Please, I'd love to sit down with this brother, pick his brain for a minute, man, because you're a legend in the game, man, and everybody, it's like Cheers. Everybody knows your name, bro.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah, yo, you know, day one, cat, you know, as far as the hip-hop is concerned.
Yes, sir.
But even before hip-hop was around, you know, I was doing my thing. You know, I was one of them dudes plugging into the lampposts and, you know, in the park in New York City, you know,
right.
and getting it going, you know, with the disco funk stuff, you know. So that's what it's all about.
Hey, so you're from Brooklyn, right?
Yeah, I'm born in Brooklyn and raised in Queens.
Raised in Queens. So that's how you connected with like the Russell Simmons and Run DMC's. Okay. Now how was that, man? How was it? How did you run into them? How did you meet them?
Russell was a promoter. Well, at first he was just a dancer. He used to dance at the parties. You know, you see him in the crowd.
I know.
Yeah, but he wasn't breakdancing or nothing like that. That's when they were doing the hustle and back in the disco days. And so, Russell started doing his own parties. Him and this girl named Puppet, and they started doing parties and promoting their thing. And it was called Rush Party. Right. RUSH. Mm-hmm. And he knew me because I was a DJ from the area. And we connected, over time. Then he started working at record companies and he would bring people records, like he was a promotion man. That was back in the vinyl days.
Right.
And he'd be like, yo, here's some copies, Ralph, for this new record, da 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 da. So that was how our relation started from the neighborhood. And then he went on and started, he got his first record I think he put out was this record by Orange Crush, I Want Action. Okay. And then Curtis Blow, and then it took off from there, and then eventually Run DMC came. Yeah.
Yeah. So you said you were DJing. Was that? Did you start that when you were in Brooklyn, or you didn't start DJing until like in college?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I started in Queens. Like when we moved to Queens, you had a little bit more space. Lived in a house. Now we don't live in an apartment. And so we had a basement, and we just sit down there and play records all the time. And I always loved music from when I was young, living in Brooklyn. My uncle put me on to all of the records and stuff. And so I had a passion for that. And it just took it to a whole nother level, where I started to do the outside parks. Okay. Then I started to do the clubs. And then, took it to, arenas. It went all the way to that point,
Now, what was your DJ name?
Same name, Ralph McDaniels.
DJ Ralph.
Yeah.
No RD.
I didn't change it. It's funny because people ask me, yo, man, you gotta. Well, back then you gotta have a DJ name,
right?
And and I was like, I don't know what it could be. I didn't know, what reflected me because I was kind of quiet back then, smooth. But when I knew the record, I knew my music, so I'm just going by Ralph McDaniels, DJ Ralph McDaniels, yo. Yeah. And that's it.
Now, you moved to Queens. Any relation to Darren McDaniels?
Nah, it's funny you say that because, Daryl DMC is adopted. I don't know if you ever saw his documentary on him, right? And so when he was looking to find out his background, he called me and asked me a few questions to see if I was related to him.
Related to him, yeah.
And there was no, all the questions that he asked was I couldn't relate to at all. So I said, nah. But people ask me that all the time. And it's funny that D, was when he was trying to figure out his background, just started reaching out to people. And I was one of the first because my name was McDaniels.
Right. Mm-hmm. So at what point did you decide to transition? I mean, I know you're still DJ and I know you still, do radio and everything, but at what point did you say this hip hop thing is popping, it's bubbling, it's underground, but people need to see this thing, man?
That was when I went to college. You went to
LaGuardia?
No, yeah, I went to LaGuardia Community College first for 2 years. And then I went to New York Institute of Technology in Westbury, and that's where I got the TV and film stuff going. But LaGuardia put me on to working at TV stations. I started, and I tell people, and any of you viewers that trying to get into this business, they're young, you know, that internship at one of those locations, it goes a long way, bro.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because now you inside, you seeing how they moving in there.
Absolutely.
You know, so I started working at these TV stations, and now I see how they make a TV show. Up to that point, I just watched it on TV.
Right.
I didn't know how it was made. You know, now I'm seeing, oh, this is the way they do that. Oh, that's why they say this. You know, so I started to understand, you know, how it worked. And then I started, my last internship was working at the station WNYC Channel 31. And that was where I got a job. They gave me a job after I graduated from school. And then one day I was sitting there and these tapes came in, and they were like, they weren't music videos. They were like promotional things of the artist performing. Like, you know, the artist might be performing in some room.
Right.
And I was like, yo, and it was black artists. And I was like, yo, this is crazy. Like, you know, like, what is this for? And I said, we should make a show out of this. And everybody looked at me like I was crazy. Like, what are you talking about? You know, like it didn't exist. So nobody knew. You know, only thing we had back then was like Soul Train. And, you know, Dick Clark, shows like that, you know. And I said, look, I'm going to mess around with this. And I messed around with it for a couple of months. And then I took it to the program director, and they said, you know, they didn't get it, but they used it. We used to have these things, these fundraisers, like it's like a public broadcasting station. So they have these fundraisers. And he was like, look, I want to use the videos for the fundraiser. So I gave it to them, and they played it, and mad people started calling as soon as they saw the video.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that means that this has got some value to it.
Right, absolutely. Absolutely.
And from there, I was like, okay, that put the battery in my back, because up to that point, it was just an idea, you know? And so I was like, okay, let's go. And so we figured out to make an opening for the show, and then they came up with this other idea that they wanted to do. I didn't really like it, but I went along with it. And then after a year, they were like, you know, it's not working out. I said, yo, let me do my own thing, because I know why it's not working out. And they were like, all right. And so then I came back with this new idea, and it was called Video Music Box. And that was in 1983. So it's 37 years ago.
So Studio 31 was the actual show.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, was that concept kind of taken from like Soul Train and what was that?
No.
Bandstand?
Yeah, nah, it wasn't. It was all based upon these videos that were, you know, I had kind of compiled it already, and it was just different stuff. You know, it was random. You know, like somebody was in a studio performing, then somebody was in a park performing. They weren't like scenes, like videos like you know them now.
Right.
It was just somebody with a camera and shot them. You know, like real basic.
Yeah.
But the songs were hot. And I didn't care. Like I was like, because I'm a DJ, I'm listening to the music, you know. So, you know, I just went and found the hottest ones I could find. And then when they did it, they were trying to make it like, you know, like just, you know, it just didn't work. It didn't flow to me. Like, everything in my head is from a DJ's perspective.
Okay.
You know, like I'm like, we got to keep the dance floor crowded.
Right.
So the way y'all doing it, people are walking off the floor. You know, we got to keep the dance floor crowded, and we got to keep it popping, you know, or it got to flow in some way. Got to have some kind of rhythm to it. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So they didn't do it like that, and I knew it wasn't going to work. So but when I did it more with a flow, and I talked on it.
Right.
And so that gave it something. So for the first 2 years of Video Music Box, you never even saw me. You just heard my voice. And then people said, you know, like, yo, you got to show your face, because people are watching this, but they don't never see you. And I didn't want to be no celebrity or nothing like that, you know, where people saw me. So I was like, no, I'm good. I'm good. I don't need to do that. And so they were like, nah. And then in 1985, we recorded this concert called Fresh Fest.
Okay.
And Fresh Fest, I was there. You saw me. That was the first time anybody ever saw me at Fresh Fest. And that was Run DMC, Houdini, Grandmaster Flash, Fat Boys, and Young LL. He had like 2 records out at the time.
Matter of fact, I saw some of the video footage. The old school. Yeah, that was crazy. Seeing them then and knowing who they are now is crazy.
Yes. Yeah. But it all started. It all started somewhere. And that was the beginning. Even that concert. Like I just posted this thing on Twitter, where it's like a 360 version of that. You can see some of the stills of it and some of the footage from behind the scenes. So people are watching, they can check that out.
Now, what music video, dang, I can't get the words out. Video music box was, did you already have the connection to the streets with the artists, because to get the videos and all that kind of thing?
Well, that was really Rush. That was the first person I went to was Russell, because by this time now, Russell is managing people. So he's inviting us to his parties and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And, we're seeing all of these artists who I got their records, and this is them, right here,
Right.
And so, because back then you didn't get radio play like that. You might get on college radio or late at night, Red Alert, Mr. Magic, Chuck Chill Out, Molly Mall, and so you didn't see these people. So the more I started to get into it, the more I knew I had to go to places where they were at and record them with a camera. And that's what we started doing. So that's when we started doing the whole club thing. Started going to clubs or any kind of, outside concert in the summertime,
right.
And so we could get these artists because they didn't have no music videos. Like music videos was like hip hop artists didn't have music videos in the beginning.
Right. That wasn't a thing.
Right. It wasn't a budget. There was no, the record companies wasn't totally committed. Now it's a whole different ball game. They got a video for every song, Back then you couldn't get one video. If you ask your record company for a video, they'd be like, nah, we ain't paying for that.
Yeah.
And so that's why we went out and started doing, the interviews, and that's how the shout out thing came about when I started doing the shout outs. And it took off from there because now the audience saw it. Mm-hmm. Just like me, they didn't see it up to that point. They just, they saw magazines. You might have had Right On magazine.
Word
something like that,
Yeah.
And every once in a while, you might have saw a hip hop artist on Soul Train,
Yeah.
But even Soul Train, Don Cornelius wasn't with hip hop at all.
That's what I there and say. He didn't like it at first.
Yeah, he didn't like it. He thought it was a fad. He didn't think it was, like most people from that generation, they didn't think it was going to last. Mm-hmm. And so there wasn't a lot of opportunities for, that definitely the first generation, like guys like Flash and Sugar Hill and stuff like that. But then when Run DMC and the Fat Boys and Houdini and Eric B. and Rakim, when they came around, Russell was the catalyst to make all that happen because Russell saw how unknown white artists were on these shows. Like, well, hold up, my dudes is hot. How you not gonna put my people on?
Exactly.
And so Russell really, I ain't gonna front. Russell really broke a lot of ground on how hip hop is taken in now. From the way he believed that we should have the same opportunities as any other people. Any other kind of genre of music. If the rock and roll boys get it, then my hip hop boys got to get it. If these country guys get it, then my hip hop guys got to get the same treatment. And that's the way he treated it and took it to the point where a guy like Jay-Z talks how he talks now because that's all from Russell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's how I learned of Russell Simmons was we rolling with Rush. Rush Down Management, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's right. Because, he made you feel like you were somebody. Or he put you in a situation that you felt equal. People talking about Black Lives Matter right now. Mm-hmm. He was on that, he was like, hip hop matters, like treat my people right, So, yeah.
Yeah. And so the show ran for a minute. So, because the thing that was different about Video Music Box was you had actual footage of artists, not just music videos. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you said, freestyles, behind the scenes stuff, all the stuff that people don't get the chance to see. They was able to see it through your channel.
Yeah, well, now, they call it exclusives. In the 90s, they started talking exclusive. Clue.
Yeah.
But back then, it wasn't exclusive. I mean, it was really an exclusive because
Yeah.
it was only on, you got to remember now, this is before the internet. So you only could see it when it came on.
It came on, right. Exactly. And y'all were pre-Yo MTV Raps. So it was localized. So we had no clue. You know what I'm saying?
Right. When I went to other states, people be like, I heard about it. I seen a VHS copy of it. And, like for those who don't know, VHS is is one of these right here. Yeah, I got a lot of these right here because this is from my era, the VHS tape.
Oh yeah.
So people would, make copies and then send them to somebody, in Atlanta or in Miami, or in Cali, or in Detroit, and that's how it started to pass around. And a lot of people passed it around if they was in the military.
Okay.
I got that because they went overseas.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And so that's how the word of mouth, almost like like a mixtape back in the days, it passed around in that way. Okay. And that's how because I remember going to Cali, and I was doing something there. I was doing a video, maybe directing a video, and the guy who I met out there said, "Yo, we're gonna go to Ice-T's crib." Mm-hmm. So I said, I never met Ice-T in my life. I said, okay, no problem. So we go to Ice-T's crib, and he got mad VHSs of Video Music Box.
Wow.
So I'm like, yo, where you get that from? So he's like, nah, my man Africa Islam put me on, and I watched. This is what we watch, so we know what's going on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So I said, oh, okay. So that's how it got passed around.
Had there ever been any plans or thoughts to take it national? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I went to MTV before they did Yo MTV Raps. Wow. And I told them, I said, look, y'all got to do a hip hop show, I'm ready. It's hot, it's popping. Yeah. And they were like, nah, you don't understand. The rest of the country, New York is into it, Cali is into it, but the rest of the country's not really with the hip hop yet. So this was 86. And I was like, nah, that can't be right, because there's kids in Chicago making music now. Mm-hmm. There's kids in Atlanta making music now, in Detroit, DC. I don't get it. Y'all can't be right. And they were like, nah, you don't understand, Ralph, da-da-da-da. And I said, all right, I disagree. And y'all could be ahead of the curve real early. And then a year later, almost 2 years later, they started Yo MTV Raps.
Fans by Freddie.
Pretty much took your idea, basically.
Yeah. I mean, that's all they watched. That was the
blueprint.
The blueprint for what, because everybody that produced that show was in New York. Mm-hmm. And then they got Freddie Fab is like a blueprint in the community. So they got the right guys. They got Ed and Dre, Dre is from my neighborhood in Queens. I mean, I'm sorry, Ed is from my neighborhood in Queens. Mm-hmm. And so I knew Ed, but I didn't know that he was into the music like that. I knew he used to be rolling with a couple of sound systems and stuff.
Right.
But he was really, they brought a whole nother level of entertainment to it, where I was more like, this is it, Music Box, this is new music. I was more like an informative type of dude.
Yeah. I saw him just recently mention you on, I think it was on Vlad, in fact.
Okay.
Hey, Lover, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So then after that run, because we went from 84 to 95.
Yeah.
What did you transition into?
I mean, we continued to do what we were doing with the music. Also what was happening in there by 86, 87, 88, my partner and I, Lionel Martin, the Vid Kid on the show.
Vid Kid, yeah.
Yeah, we started making videos.
Okay.
So we were watching some of the videos that were coming out, and we were like, yo, who did this video? I don't feel like they caught the right essence of what was going on right here.
Right.
But we never made videos before. I could tell you how to make a local TV show, but I didn't know nothing about making a video. Mm-hmm. So we learned how to make videos, because videos at that time were shot in film. And we learned how to make videos, and then we went on to the first video we did was for the first hip hop video we did was for Roxanne Shante. Roxanne's Revenge.
Yeah.
Now, it was already a hit. This is like back in the days, they didn't make the video like the same time the record came out.
Right.
They waited to see how the sales was gonna go. Okay, we made some money. Now let's make a video. So it might have been 6 months or so the record's out already. Then they're gonna make the video. So we did the video for Shantae. Cold Chillin' Records, they loved it. They were like, yo, we got another artist named Biz Marquis. They came to us with Biz Marquis. We did all of the Biz Marquis videos. Any Biz Marquis video, up to maybe 1 or 2 that we didn't do. We did Just a Friend, Vapors. We did all of that.
Wow.
Yeah. And then they came, we got this other artist, Big Daddy Kane. And then we did Ain't No Half Steppin' and all of those videos. Yeah. And so it just kind of, just kept going. And then, in the 90s, I did Wu-Tang Cream for Wu-Tang. I did Nas, It Ain't Hard to Tell. Those were, big songs for those artists. So it was I did all the X-Clan videos, late 80s, early 90s.
With the key, sucker.
Yeah. We did Self-Destruction.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, we did that.
Oh, that was the joint, man.
Yeah. So we did a lot of videos on the hip hop side and the R&B side, like the whole TLC first album, Belle Biv DeVoe first album, Boyz II Men whole first album. So it was a lot of work, and so during that time of, this music happening, we were also doing other things like the production, commercials,
right.
Wu-Tang Clan, St. Ives commercial. Like, we were just doing all kinds of crazy shit. I did Juice. I'm one of the producers on Juice, the movie.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That was back in 92?
That was 92, yeah.
92,
yeah.
Actually, didn't you also produce on Roxanne?
Right. So that's all based upon that first video that we did.
Wow.
Because the girl who was the executive producer on that, Mimi Valdez, says, Ralph, the first time I ever saw Roxanne Shantae was on your show. I was a little girl. And she goes, I'm going to do a movie with her. Would you be interested in getting down? I said, yeah, absolutely. And so at the end of the movie, that's my footage that you see, like the credits is going and she's kind of talking. And a couple of the scenes were based upon, what we did when we first shot the video.
Wow.
So, we wanted to make sure we had the right, speakers and turntables and things like that. People, the biggest thing with the Shantae movies that people wanted to have everybody in it. They wanted the whole Juice Crew in it. And that was, the rights wasn't there to do the whole Juice Crew. It was only for Shantae.
So that's a full circle moment right there. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And that's one of the most watched movies. This is what Netflix says. Most watched movies over and over again. Like, people watch certain movies, multiple times. That's one of the most multiple watched movies on Netflix to this day.
I mean, it's a dope joint. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you don't get a lot of stories about women in hip hop, and I think that's.
I think we need a Latifah story, man.
Yeah, because Latifah is it. Latifah. Absolutely. Just her story, where she comes from, how she was maneuvering back then in Jersey. And New Jersey doesn't get a lot of props because, for whatever reason, I guess people just think New York first. But Jersey is super talented artists, like crazy talent over there.
Absolutely.
And to this day, I go to some showcases, I'm like, yo, where this person been at? Like, what are they doing? Like, and for whatever reason, I don't know, why it's like that. But, with her and Shakim, her manager, and, Day One dude with her, and then, the Naughties and, everything else that came from that, Janae, all of the stuff that popped off from just that Flavor Unit thing,
Flavor Unit, yeah. So do you think a show like Video Music Box could live today in the streaming era, of on demand? Do you think it could live today?
I think so, because if you stick to like some of the classic stuff, I think there's a place for classic and some new stuff, not everything. Like I like trap music, I like certain things, but certain things I just don't get. And that's cool because that's, you know, I'm not supposed to get it.
Yeah.
It's not for me,
It's
you know? And so I think there's a space for it, you know, with certain artists, you know, like, you know, the Drakes of the world and, you know, Kendricks of the world. I think that an older hip hop audience can appreciate some of that, the music that those artists put out as well. So I think there is a space for it. You look, they have classic rock shows, right?
Yeah, true that.
And they don't, so we have to have a classic hip hop. It's got to happen, you know. I mean, we got Rock the Bells. LL is basically that's his thing, is to do classic, but we need more of a, you know, like MTV has classic rock still, you know. And I'm like, yo, when y'all gonna do a classic hip hop channel? Yeah. You know, like what's going on? Like,
yeah, I would love to look back and see, you know, them, you know, some of the music videos back from the 80s, man, early 80s, man. It'd be funny to look at, and two, it's just so nostalgic, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, look, every Wednesday and Thursday on my Instagram at 9:30, I do a live and I just play old school videos.
Okay, that's what's up.
On my gram. And people be like, yo, they be, you know, like just going back on what they remember at that time. They was in middle school or whatever it was, you know, my uncle, this reminds me of my uncle. This is what, you know, all these things that take people back. But, you know, like people go like, well, you know, they can watch these things on YouTube. But if they don't know it's there,
exactly,
what's going to make them go and start looking for it?
Look for it. Yeah.
Well, that's your lane. So that's you know, once again, you know.
Yeah. So I'm here.
So we got to celebrate that was about 30, how many years now? 38? 37 years?
Yeah.
What? And I thought I saw a picture or a video of you like in your, looking at all the catalogs. You was like in your file. Space,
Yeah, that's part of the Video Music Box collection.
Okay.
So this year, in 2020, we started the Video Music Box Collection, which is a nonprofit organization, and that's dedicated to preserving the culture, you know, making sure that it's digitized, making sure that it's searchable, making sure that, you know, high school kids or college kids or people that go to a museum and have access to this stuff and see it. And so we started the nonprofit. Right when we were going to do events and things like that, we had it planned out. COVID hit.
Shut it down, bro.
And that shut everybody down. So, you know, basically what we've been doing is digitizing. That gave us time because I'm, you know, working from home. That gave us time to, you know, spend more time with the collection and take all of these VHS tapes and all kinds of other tapes that we have and turn those into digital files, like, but at a high end, you know, a high end level.
Absolutely.
And so we've been working really hard for since March, well, since February, really. That's when we started, and getting everything ready so that people will eventually be able to either subscribe to the Video Music Box collection, or, you know, if you're a teacher and you're saying, hey, Ralph, you know, I'm doing something, I want to do a story on Nas, but I want my kids to be able to see the real deal. And then we could send it to them and they can look at it right in their classroom. Like, they don't own it, but they can watch it and they can talk about it. You know, it'll be a topic of discussion because hip hop is part of our culture and it's an important part. And the reason why I did it, because, you know, back in the days, when I first started Video Music, I used to hear horror stories about, you know, like tapes of performances of, like, you know, let's say Michael Jackson or James Brown or, you know, whoever from back in the days, and people just threw them away, these TV stations.
Wow.
You know, and I'll be like, well, why would they do that?
Right.
You know, because they don't care. Once we go back to Black Lives Matter again. You know, if it doesn't matter to you and it's not part of your culture, why do you care? So we have to take responsibility for that now. So being that I've been shooting for all this time and I got 20,000 hours, I can at least take responsibility for my stuff and make sure that it's correct. And so, you know, like you guys are doing, like, this is super important. You know, this is something that 50 years from now, somebody could be watching. Absolutely. We have to think about it like that. We can't just think about it in the this moment. We got to think about it for years from now.
Well, speaking of years from now, when you were going through the catalog years back,
yes,
you know, today, what was the video that you was processing? It was like, yo, that I remember. You know what I'm saying? What was the one that stood out to you the most?
I think we posted something up the other day, and it's Jay-Z performing at this place called the Ark in Brooklyn.
Oh yeah.
And that was and I didn't realize it at the time. He performed every song from Reasonable Doubt.
Okay.
Because we were just waiting for at the time, Ain't No Nigga was the hot song, right?
Yeah.
And so we just waiting for him to do that. But he performed every song off of that album because the album wasn't even out yet when he performed it.
Okay.
So he did 22 Twos. He did, he did In My Lifetime. He did all these songs, right? And so when I went back and looked at the raw footage, I was like, yo, he did like almost every song off the album, because I only used Ain't No because that was the hot song at the time. That's what I put on the show.
Yeah.
And nobody else knew the other songs yet. And so I was like, this is crazy, so just to watch, the evolution of him, from being with Jazzo in the beginning, and then being with Kane and, and just coming along and becoming his own person to being, the mogul that he is today, is crazy. Crazy.
Came a long way from the Hawaiian Sophie video.
Hawaiian Sophie.
Yes, sir.
That's crazy. So what's I know the pandemic has kind of shut things down and got us a little stirred, and it seemed like we're going to move that way into 2021. Like how does Ralph Daniels move now? Like what's cooking? Because I know if you got 12 months to just sit and do what you're doing, you working on something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, we, like the most important thing for me is the Video Music Box Collection. And people who are watching, you want to donate or find out more, go to videomusicboxcollection.org.
Okay.
That's super important because that's my legacy. That's part of my legacy, Video Music Box. The other parts of it is, Ralph McDaniels, and, we got a couple of ideas that we've floating around with some documentaries and some movie related stuff. Okay. And that'll come, I think that's going to happen as well. But for me, it's like I had a conversation with the Rock the Bells people the other day, and they were, they wanted to get some content. And I said, look, that's cool, but I need to get the Video Music Box Collection up and running and running at a level like how the Grammys do what they do.
Right. Yeah.
Or Billboard magazine does what they does. And that's what I need y'all to help me with. I don't want to be just, I can talk all day, but I need your expertise and connections to get me to the point where I can do that. How can y'all help me in that sense? Because this is all about preserving the culture. It's bigger than Ralph McDaniels. This is preserving the culture. And so they were like, okay, we got you, Ralph. So hopefully, that will go in another direction as well. Yeah.
Well, man, I mean, definitely, you mentioned documentaries and I guess you can say biopics, man. Push for that Queen Latifah joint, bro.
Yeah.
Because that's a story that I would just love, because I remember from day one or day two, and just the way she killed it from then till today.
Wrath of the Madness.
Right, exactly.
There you go.
And nothing about her has wavered at any time. You know what I'm saying?
Nah. She's always been the same, and she's always kicked knowledge, and she was singing all along. So when she started making singing albums, people were like, I didn't know she could sing. I'm like, nah, she's been doing it.
Yeah. Ooh, ladies first. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Now, who do we need to talk to get that Juice Crew biopic popping, man?
I think Kane is going to be the point person. I think that's what he said.
Okay.
So Kane has been talking about it, and I think that he's going to be the point person to make that happen. So say you go to Kane's page and say, yo, we ready for that, So
just start flooding them.
Yeah, because these artists, they be laying back and they be doing shows and they be doing like, come on, Kane, let's go. Yeah. We need that. We need to know that story. We need to know all of the stories. We need to know the rivalry between him and Rakim. We need to know all of that.
Let us in for sure. The legendary Ralph McDaniels, aka Uncle Ralph, man, certainly appreciate you taking the time, man, to kick it with us right here on G-Wade Podcast with Deacon Dirty.
One of the reasons why we do what we do is because of you. Man.
Absolutely.
Brother. Oh, thank you, brother. Thank you, man.
Absolutely, man. I'm a hip hop fan. I love hip hop, man. So that's why I want to go back and just see all that old stuff. I love bars, man. Y'all like lyrics, you know what I'm saying? Okay. So I know the tapes are full of them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, crazy stuff that, we know the big names and stuff, but there's certain artists that, for that summer, they was just hot.
It's hot, yeah.
And you don't care, like, you still go, they official, because that summer that they was hot, that's what I try to, bring back those type of artists that you might have forgot about, that you go like, oh yeah, Skills, he was crazy with it, or she was crazy with it, Yeah.
Well, once again, man, where can people find you and get behind the nonprofit, everything you're doing? Where can they find you at?
On any social media, it's at Video Music Box, and the nonprofit is videomusicboxcollection.org. Support the culture, preserve the culture. It's super important, that not just my culture, not just hip hop, just in general, that we preserve our culture and our history, so that we can tell our story correctly, because in 2030, the world is going to look a lot different, and we want to make sure that we are not forgotten and we don't get lost in the analog, digital, transition.
Exactly.
So whatever it is, and if you're sitting at home and you got something in your house, it might be worth something. Mm-hmm. Don't throw it away, because that's what we do. Unfortunately, our people they move, whatever, they throw stuff out, and it's value in these things. There's somebody sitting around that would be like, damn, I'm missing a part of the story, and you might have it right in your house. So
right in your house, right? Don't even know it.
Yeah.
Once again, man, I want to thank you, man, for taking the time, man. Love your story, man. Just watching from back in the day to the day, man. I didn't even realize you touched so many things, man. I was like, yo, dang, I didn't know that. You know what I'm saying? But that I'm fans of, but I didn't know you was a part of them things. You know what I'm saying? So it's always good to meet the man behind the hype and all that good stuff, man. And it's just an honor to have you here, man, for real.
Nah, I appreciate it, man. Thank you, man. Big up to G Wade, everything that y'all do and the podcast, and I'm a fan of everybody that's out there. People that are watching, continue to keep doing it. Flood the airways, get the information out, man. So I appreciate y'all having me.
Yes, sir. Our pleasure, man. It's your boy G Wade holding it down, G Wade Podcast, and I'm kicking it alongside with my man Deacon. Y'all know what it is.
The G-Wade Podcast. The G-Wade Podcast. Bringing you the cool interviews, the hot topics, and all that other crap. The G-Wade Podcast with Deacon Dirty.